Why is it that the more you give, the less you are seen? Why do you, who follow every rule, end up invisible while another man, careless and unpredictable, captures her entire soul? These questions cut deeper than you dare to admit, because they expose a silent wound you have carried for years. You thought love was about effort, about showing up, about proving your worth. But in the hidden theater of desire, those rules are nothing but illusions, designed to keep you obedient while the real game unfolds behind the curtain. Imagine attraction as a chessboard, where you keep moving the same predictable pieces, waiting for her approval. But what if she has already seen through your every move, yawning at your devotion, while another man plays like a grandmaster, calm, unreadable, impossible to control? The truth is cruel. Desire is not born from what is safe, but from what is dangerous, what cannot be tamed. And when a woman begins to drift, it is never random. It is the invisible magnet of contrast, pulling her toward what you refuse to embody. This is why so many men feel betrayed, abandoned, confused. You gave her certainty, and she repaid you with silence. You offered stability, and she longed for chaos. You became the cage, thinking it was protection, while she searched for a key. Deep down, you feel the fracture. The moment she stops arguing, stops demanding, stops caring. That is the first sign, the quiet erosion of her attention, the withdrawal of the one thing that matters more than love itself, her emotional investment. But you were never told this truth, were you? They taught you to be kind, consistent, transparent. They never revealed that in the forbidden psychology of attraction, those very qualities become your chains. What if everything you believed about women was the opposite of what ignites their desire? What if the secret was always there, hidden, in plain sight, spoken only in whispers by the few who dared to listen? You are about to step into that territory where silence screams louder than words, and where the first betrayal is never her leaving, but something far more chilling. You think you know when love dies, but the truth always comes first as a whisper, not a scream. It is not the dramatic argument, nor the slammed door. It is the stillness that should terrify you, a silence heavy enough to suffocate, an absence disguised as peace. She no longer mirrors your words, no longer fights for her position in your life, because the battle is already lost in her heart. That withdrawal is the first death, invisible to everyone but the man who dares to look without illusions. And if you felt it once, you already know it is the kind of silence that cuts deeper than any rejection. The paradox is cruel. You thought harmony meant safety, but in her world, harmony without tension is nothing but boredom wearing a mask. The female psyche craves contrast, warmth and cold, pursuit and distance, chaos and calm. When you gave her only stability, you became predictable, and predictability is a cage that no woman wants to inhabit for long. She will not tell you this. She will not admit that her desire is pulled by the magnetic field of danger, of uncertainty, of scarcity. To reveal it would expose her own contradictions, and contradictions are the shadows she hides even from herself. So, you wait for words, but her truth is never spoken. It is enacted, the late replies, the eyes that no longer shine when you enter. The room, the touch that becomes mechanical, stripped of urgency. Each act is a move on the invisible chessboard, where you are still playing pawns, while she has already positioned her queen for the final strike. What feels sudden to you has been rehearsed in silence for weeks, maybe months. By the time you notice, the game is not beginning. It is ending, and this is the forbidden code most men never grasp. When someone stops loving you, they rarely confess it. They perform it, piece by piece, until your soul feels the emptiness before your mind admits it. The truth is merciless. Love does not vanish in an explosion. It evaporates drop by drop, until all that remains is the desert of her absence. And once you taste that desert, you will understand that the most dangerous weapon is not anger, but indifference. You were taught to fear betrayal in the form of another man, but the deeper betrayal begins in her silence. It is not about bodies, It is about presence. When her attention drifts, when her laughter no longer belongs to your world, she has already crossed a border you cannot see. This is the paradox that eats men alive. The moment you feel safest, when she seems calm and distant, is precisely when she is rehearsing her escape. It is not the storm that ends you. It is the quiet before it. And why does this silence kill more brutally than words? Because it makes you doubt yourself. You replay every gesture, every conversation, searching for the mistake, but you never find it. She will not hand you clarity. She will hand you confusion, because confusion paralyzes, and in paralysis you cannot resist. That is the hidden cruelty of female detachment. It is not direct rejection, it is a withdrawal that leaves you drowning in uncertainty, questioning if you were ever enough. Like a magnet turned upside down, you still reach out, but your touch repels instead of draws her in. You bring more effort, more attention, more devotion, thinking it will reignite the flame. But the flame does not go out because you did too little. It dies because you gave too much without mystery, too much without scarcity. A diamond shines, not for its abundance, but because it is rare, unreachable, untamed. You gave her everything, and in doing so you became nothing in her eyes. This is the hidden law. Women will never confess that what they crave is not only love, but tension. They need the pull of the unknown, the thrill of wondering if they can hold you, if you can vanish, if you can surprise. Strip away that tension, and her attraction starves. She may still stay by your side, but what you loved in her, the fire, the passion, the urgency, will be gone. What remains is a body beside you, but the soul already belongs to another realm. You see, the cruelest truth is that women rarely leave when their heart dies. They linger like ghosts haunting a house they no longer call home. She can still smile, still kiss you, still whisper your name, but behind her eyes there is absence, a void you cannot touch. That void is the real enemy, more lethal than any rival, because it turns you into a beggar chasing echoes. You sense it, but you deny it, because denial feels safer than confronting the possibility that you were never what she truly desired. And this denial becomes your prison. You cling harder, speak sweeter, offer more of yourself, as if sacrifice could resurrect desire, but the more you give, the deeper she drifts. You confuse love with loyalty, not realizing that desire does not reward loyalty. It feeds on fascination, unpredictability, the tension between what is offered and what is withheld. The harder you try to hold her, the faster she dissolves in your hands, like water slipping through clenched fists. This is the fracture most men cannot bear to face. She does not leave because of what you failed to give, but because of what you gave too freely. Every answer, every gesture, every ounce of predictability robbed you of mystery. You became a map too easily read, a territory already conquered, and no one desires to live forever in land without secrets. The female psyche is drawn not to certainty, but to possibility, not to ownership, but to pursuit. When she no longer needs to chase, she no longer burns. Ask yourself, what is more terrifying? Losing her body to another man, or losing her soul while she still lies in your bed? The second is the silent tragedy that has broken countless men, waking beside a woman who is already gone. And it is here, in this invisible battlefield, that the real war of attraction is fought. A war not of words or promises, but of presence, absence, and the subtle art of scarcity. There is a moment sharper than a blade when you realize her gaze no longer seeks you. She may look at you, but she does not see you. That glance, once magnetic, once filled with hunger, is now hollow, as if she is staring through a stranger. And that is the wound no man admits aloud, the quiet humiliation of being invisible to the woman who once craved your presence. It is not rejection in words, it is erasure in silence, and it corrodes your sense of worth like acid eating through steel. You try to resurrect what is already buried, buying, pleasing, convincing, believing. That proof of devotion can reverse the tide. But devotion without power is nothing but submission, and submission is the death of attraction. This is the paradox they will never confess. A man too available, too transparent, becomes suffocating. Desire is not sustained by possession. It is ignited by distance, by the possibility of loss. The man who never risks being absent never awakens the hunger of being chased. Think of attraction as a chessboard again. The novice exposes every move, desperate to prove his intentions, while the master guards his strategy, unpredictable, untouchable. Which player excites curiosity? Which one commands respect? A woman's heart does not beat faster for the predictable pawn. It trembles for the unseen, the unspoken, the man she cannot fully hold. And when you surrender all your mystery, you surrender the very force that bound her to you. This is the forbidden truth. Women will never reveal that they need resistance as much as they need affection, that they crave both tenderness and danger, loyalty and enigma. They want to feel that you could vanish, even if you stay. Without that polarity, desire suffocates, and what remains is not love, but routine. A slow suffocation that feels like safety until it kills. And you, trapped in that illusion, mistake her fading desire for peace until the silence grows unbearable. The most devastating illusion is believing she leaves because of someone else. No, before any other man exists, she leaves because of who you stopped being. The absence of your edge, the erosion of your unpredictability, the death of your polarity. Women may flirt with distractions, but the real betrayal is internal. It is her own heart, revolting against the comfort you built, the cage of predictability you decorated with devotion. And when that revolt begins, nothing you buy, nothing you say, nothing you sacrifice can hold her. The deeper wound lies in the paradox you were never told. The very things you were taught to do to keep her are the same things that smother her desire. They said give her certainty, and you did. They said show your feelings, and you bled them out in front of her. They said prove your love, and you proved it until there was nothing left to prove. But in her secret psychology, certainty kills mystery. Vulnerability without power kills respect, and excess of love without scarcity kills attraction. This is the unspeakable contradiction she will never confess. Picture a magnet once more, turned the wrong way. No matter how close you press, the force pushes you back. That is what devotion without tension becomes. Repulsion disguised as loyalty. You feel her slipping and you double your efforts, but every effort widens the gap, because what she hungers for cannot be given through abundance. It is scarcity that sharpens desire, rarity that awakens value. Diamonds are worshipped not because they are flawless, but because they are rare, untouchable, fragments of fire hidden deep within the earth. And here lies the most forbidden secret. Women crave what they cannot fully own. They are drawn to the paradox of safety wrapped in danger, of love laced with the possibility of loss. To be wanted, you must remain partly unreachable, a riddle never fully solved. The moment you hand over every piece of yourself, the moment you strip away every shadow, you cease to be a man of fire and become only ash. And no woman, no matter how loyal her words, burns for ash. And yet, the cruel beauty of this truth is that most men never glimpse it until it is too late. They cling to illusions, to promises, to the idea that love is preserved by effort, not realizing that effort without mystery is like water poured into a broken vessel. No matter how much you give, it leaks into emptiness. By the time you awaken, to the signs, the silence, the distance, the absence, her soul has already crossed the threshold, and what remains in your arms is only a shadow of the woman you once knew. This is why heartbreak feels less like a wound and more like exile. You are still in the same room, but you no longer belong. You speak, but your words do not echo in her chest. You touch, but your hands no longer awaken her fire. And in this exile, you confront a mirror more terrifying than betrayal, the reflection of your own predictability. For it was not another man who conquered her. It was your surrender to routine, your slow descent into transparency, your death by certainty. But do not mistake this for hopelessness. It is revelation. For just as attraction can die drop by drop, it can also be reborn in fire, not through desperation, not through proving, but through the forbidden codes most men never dare to embody. Presence without possession, affection without dependence, mystery without lies. To hold her soul, you must never let her fully hold yours, because desire feeds not on what is given, but on what is glimpsed, tasted, and never completely possessed. And here, on this edge, you stand at the entrance to a territory most will never enter, a place where love is not obedience but polarity, not comfort but electricity, not surrender but mastery. Few men have crossed this threshold, fewer still have returned unchanged. What waits beyond is not safety, but power, the kind of power that cannot be explained, only lived. And once you taste it, you will understand why women are drawn to danger, and why indifference wounds deeper than hate. The silence you feared is no longer just hers. It is inside you now, echoing with every word left unsaid, every truth you refuse to see. The chessboard lies before you, pieces frozen, yet you finally understand. Every move was never about her, but about you. You were the pawn and the king at once, the cage and the key. Desire was never lost to chance. It was lost to the blindness of certainty. And certainty, you now know, is the slowest poison of all. Think of the diamond again, forged not by abundance, but by pressure and scarcity. It shines because it cannot be easily possessed, because its very nature is resistance. Wrapped in beauty, so too with attraction, it is not the constant presence that ignites the soul, but the absence that reminds her of the fire. What if all along the code was written in her silences, in the contradictions she could never voice? What if the map you sought outside was always carved inside your own skin? And here you stand, caught between magnet and mirror, realizing that what repels can also attract, that what vanishes can also awaken hunger. The paradox no longer terrifies you, it seduces you. Because now you see that the true battlefield was never her emotions but your own presence. To master her desire, you must first master the art of being both near and far, both known and unknowable, both anchor and storm. The rules were never broken, they were hidden, and now for the first time you can see them. So let this not end, but continue within you, a secret you cannot unhear. If you felt the sting, if you saw yourself between these lines, it is because the game has already begun. Share this truth, not for me, but to prove to yourself that you are ready to step beyond the illusions. Speak in the comments, leave your mark and stay close, because this path does not end here. It deepens, and perhaps, just perhaps, the next move is finally yours.